Welcome back to Carrick United Analysis. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. This is the place where Manchester United fans come to get calm, clear, and honest breakdowns of everything happening at Old Trafford. No noise, no wild guessing, just real transfer news explained simply so every single fan understands exactly what is going on with our club. If that sounds like your kind of channel, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and let us dive into today's video. Because we have two massive stories to cover, one up front and one developing quietly in the background that could change our entire midfield plans. Manchester United fans, how would you feel if two of your biggest transfer targets suddenly both became genuinely realistic in the very same week? Because that is exactly the situation unfolding right now. Ollie Watkins has openly spoken about his admiration for Manchester United, fueling real transfer speculation about a potential summer move. And at the very same time, a completely separate transfer taking place in Spain has suddenly put United in a strong position to sign one of Europe's top defensive midfielders, Aurélien Tchouaméni. Let us break down both of these stories properly, because there is a lot to unpack. Ollie Watkins opens the door. Let us start with the striker situation, because Ollie Watkins has made his feelings about a potential Manchester United move very clear. Amid ongoing speculation about a switch away from Villa Park, Watkins has made no secret of his admiration for United. When asked directly about the interest coming from Michael Carrick, he gave a response that will have every United fan excited, speaking about how big an opportunity it would be to join a club of this size, and making clear that if a move happens, he is ready to give everything for the shirt. Think about what it means when a player speaks this openly and this positively about a potential move. Players and their representatives are usually very careful with public comments about transfer speculation, often sticking to safe, non-committal answers designed to avoid upsetting their current club. Watkins choosing to speak so warmly and directly about United tells you that this interest is genuine on both sides, not simply a one-way transfer rumor being pushed by journalists looking for headlines. Why is this such a big deal for United right now? Let us dig into the context surrounding this pursuit. Understanding the Watkins situation, Watkins has been one of the most reliable and consistent strikers in the Premier League for several years now. And last season was no different, with the 30-year-old scoring 16 Premier League goals. That kind of consistent output from a proven Premier League goalscorer is exactly the kind of quality United have been searching for in the final third. Both United and Arsenal are reportedly monitoring his situation closely, showing just how highly rated he remains despite being slightly further along in his career compared to some other targets across Europe. Interestingly, Aston Villa have already rejected an approach worth around £30 million from a Turkish club, which tells you two important things. First, it confirms Villa are genuinely open to selling this summer if the right offer arrives. Second, it shows they are not simply willing to accept any bid, holding out for a fee that properly reflects his quality and consistency. For United specifically, this interest fits neatly into the club's broader plans for the striker position. Carrick appears to be considering a structured bid for Watkins as a way of bolstering the club's centre-forward options alongside Joshua Zirkzee, giving the squad genuine depth and competition in that area of the pitch heading into a long, demanding season across multiple competitions. Why would a player at Watkins' stage of his career be such an attractive option? Experience matters enormously in a Premier League title race. A proven goalscorer who already understands the physical and mental demands of competing at the top level of English football can provide exactly the kind of reliable output a squad needs during the busiest and most difficult stretches of a long season. Does the idea of Ollie Watkins leading the line in a United shirt get you excited for what our attack could look like next season? Why Watkins' public comments matter so much? Let us talk a little more about why a player speaking this openly about wanting to join United carries such real significance in the world of transfer speculation. Football is full of rumors that never materialize into anything concrete. Journalists report interest, agents float names to create leverage in other negotiations, and fans get excited about links that often go absolutely nowhere. What separates genuine, realistic transfer speculation from empty noise is often exactly this kind of direct comment from the player himself. When Watkins describes playing at Old Trafford as something you dream about as a kid, and states clearly that he is ready to give his absolute all for the shirt if an agreement is found between the clubs, he is effectively giving both United and Aston Villa a clear signal about where his own personal preference lies. This kind of public statement can actually help move a transfer along, applying gentle pressure on his current club to consider a sale, while simultaneously reassuring United that any formal approach would likely be well received by the player himself. This is exactly the kind of story that gets supporters genuinely excited, because it removes some of the uncertainty that so often surrounds transfer speculation. We now know, in the player's own words, that this is a move he would be excited to make. Now, let us shift our attention to the second major story developing right now, one that started in an entirely different country, but could end up having a massive impact on our own midfield plans. A surprising transfer trigger in Spain. Here is where things get genuinely fascinating, because a major transfer domino effect has emerged in Spain, and it directly affects Manchester United's midfield search. Real Madrid have been actively pursuing Manchester City's Rodri, the Spanish World Cup winner and one of the most complete defensive midfielders in world football. This pursuit alone would be a massive story on its own, but the real domino effect for United fans comes from what this move means for one of Real Madrid's own current midfielders, Aurelien Tchouaméni. Despite recently agreeing to a contract extension through 2031, Real Madrid appear prepared to let Tchouaméni leave in order to help fund and facilitate their move for Rodri. Think about how significant that is. A player who only recently committed his long-term future to the club is suddenly available, all because of a completely separate transfer target elsewhere. This is exactly the kind of unexpected transfer chain reaction that can completely reshape a summer window in a matter of days. Let us break down exactly how this situation is unfolding. Understanding the Rodri trigger. Real Madrid are reportedly pressing ahead with a genuinely massive deal to sign Rodri, and the player himself is said to be open to the move. When one of the best defensive midfielders in the world becomes seriously available, even a squad as strong as Real Madrid's needs to make room, both in terms of the playing squad itself and in terms of the overall financial structure of their transfer business. This is where Tchouaméni's situation comes into play. To help balance their books and manage squad depth appropriately while bringing in a player of Rodri's caliber, Real Madrid have made Tchouaméni available for transfer, and this is exactly where Manchester United's name enters the story. Reports indicate United have already lodged a formal inquiry regarding Tchouaméni's availability. This is a genuinely significant detail, because it moves this story beyond simple speculation and into the realm of concrete transfer activity. A formal inquiry means United's recruitment department is actively working on this deal behind the scenes, not simply monitoring the situation from a distance. Why Tchouaméni fits perfectly into United's midfield plans. Let us think carefully about why this specific player represents such an exciting opportunity for Manchester United's ongoing midfield rebuild. United have already been busy strengthening this area of the pitch throughout the summer, but the club has made clear they still want to add a more defensive-minded option to properly balance the engine room. Tchouaméni fits that exact profile perfectly. He is a genuine world-class defensive midfielder, someone who has won major honors at both club and international level, and someone who was a key part of France's own strong World Cup campaign this summer. Adding a player of this caliber would represent a genuine statement signing, the kind of marquee addition that signals real serious intent from United's hierarchy. Rather than simply adding depth or squad rotation options, a player like Tchouaméni would come in as a genuine upgrade, someone capable of anchoring the midfield at the very highest level for years to come. The player's own stance on a potential move. Now here is the detail that should get every United fan genuinely excited, because reports suggest Tchouaméni himself is willing to say yes to a move to Old Trafford. According to these reports, the player is prepared to play under Michael Carrick, provided United's ownership group can finalize an agreement with Real Madrid over the transfer fee itself. This tells us that, much like the Watkins situation we discussed earlier, this is not simply a case of United admiring a player from a distance. This is a genuine, realistic transfer opportunity, with the player himself reportedly open and willing to make the move. Think about the psychological boost this gives United's negotiating position. Knowing that personal terms and player willingness are unlikely to be significant obstacles allows the focus to shift entirely toward agreeing a fair transfer fee between the two clubs, which is often the most straightforward part of a negotiation, once a player has already signaled his genuine interest in moving. Breaking down the valuation and expected package. Let us talk numbers, because understanding the financial side of this potential deal helps put the whole situation into proper context. A transfer package for Tchouaméni is expected to cost somewhere between £70 million and £80.5 million, translating to roughly 85 to 95 million euros. That is a substantial fee, reflecting the genuine world-class quality of the player involved, someone who has already won major trophies at the very highest level of European football. On top of the transfer fee itself, the player's potential wages are expected to sit somewhere between £250,000 and £300,000 a week. That is a significant financial commitment on the wage side too, Exactly what you would expect for a player of this caliber and reputation moving to a major Premier League club. Put together, this represents one of the more significant financial commitments United could make this summer. But given the player's proven quality and the exact profile fit for what Carrick is trying to build in midfield, it is easy to understand why the club would consider this kind of investment worthwhile. Why this domino effect matters so much for United. Let us zoom out for a moment and think about why this entire situation represents such a fascinating case study in how modern football transfers actually work. Manchester United's pursuit of Tchouaméni did not begin because of anything happening directly at Old Trafford. It began because of a completely separate transfer taking place between Real Madrid and Manchester City, involving a different player entirely. This is a perfect example of how interconnected the modern transfer market has become. A move for one player in one country can suddenly create genuine opportunity for a completely different club pursuing a completely different target elsewhere. For United fans, this should serve as a reminder to always keep an eye on the wider transfer landscape across European football, not just direct news relating to our own club. Sometimes the biggest opportunities emerge indirectly, through moves that, on the surface, appear to have nothing to do with Manchester United at all. How these two stories connect to United's broader summer plans. Let us think about how both of these stories, Watkins and Tchouaméni, fit together into the bigger picture of what Carrick is trying to build this summer. United's recruitment strategy this summer has clearly focused heavily on rebuilding the midfield, with Yuri Tielemans and Andre Santos already arriving at the club. Adding a genuine defensive anchor like Tchouaméni would represent the final major piece of that specific rebuild, giving Carrick a genuinely well-rounded and balanced midfield unit for the season ahead. At the same time, addressing the club's attacking options through a potential move for Watkins would tackle a completely different area of need, providing experienced competition and cover alongside Joshua Zirkzee in attack. Together, these two potential signings would represent genuinely significant strengthening in two completely different but equally important areas of the pitch. This shows a club operating with real, clear strategic planning this summer, rather than simply chasing headlines or reacting randomly to whichever names happen to be trending in the news on any given day. The challenges that still remain. Of course, we need to stay realistic and balanced here, because neither of these deals is fully completed yet, and real challenges remain in both situations. For Watkins, Aston Villa's willingness to sell will likely depend on receiving a fee that properly reflects his consistent quality and importance to their own squad. Rejecting a £30 million bid from elsewhere already shows they are not desperate sellers, meaning United will need to be prepared to meet a fair valuation rather than expecting a discounted deal. For Tchouaméni, while the player's willingness to move and Real Madrid's apparent openness to selling both represent hugely positive signals, finalizing an actual transfer fee between two major clubs always takes time and careful negotiation. Real Madrid will want to ensure any sale properly funds their own pursuit of Rodri, meaning the exact structure and timing of any Tchouaméni deal may still depend heavily on how quickly Real Madrid's own Rodri negotiations progress with Manchester City. Both of these situations remain fluid, and supporters should continue watching closely as the summer transfer window progresses, understanding that genuine positive signals do not always guarantee that a deal gets fully completed. How should United fans feel about this exciting week of news? So how should we as supporters feel about everything we have discussed today? I think there is real, genuine reason for excitement here. Having a proven Premier League striker publicly express his desire to join the club, combined with a genuinely realistic path opening up towards signing one of Europe's best defensive midfielders, represents an incredibly exciting moment in this summer's transfer window. At the same time, we should remain patient and realistic. Both of these situations still require significant work before they become confirmed, completed transfers. Fees need to be agreed. Other transfer dominoes need to fall into place, particularly regarding Real Madrid's own pursuit of Rodri, and the usual twists and turns of a busy transfer window could still affect how both of these stories ultimately unfold. The smartest approach is simply staying informed, enjoying the genuine excitement of this developing news, while understanding that patience will still be required before either of these deals is fully over the line. Final thoughts before we wrap up. So there we have it, Manchester United family, two genuinely exciting transfer stories developing at exactly the same time. Ollie Watkins openly expressing his admiration for our club and his readiness to give everything for the shirt if a deal comes together. And completely separately, a surprising transfer chain reaction in Spain that has suddenly put United in a strong position to sign Aurelien Tchouaméni, with the player himself reportedly ready to say yes, provided the two clubs can agree on the finer details of the transfer fee. Both of these stories reflect genuine ambition from Michael Carrick and United's recruitment team this summer, strengthening two completely different but equally important areas of our squad as we look to build toward a genuinely competitive season ahead. Let me leave you with one final question before we close out today's video. Out of these two exciting stories, which move would you be more thrilled to see completed? Ollie Watkins finally arriving to bolster our attack, or Aurelien Tchouameni completing our midfield rebuild as the long-term successor to Casemiro? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. I read every single one, and I always love hearing the different opinions from this passionate community. Thank you so much for watching today. If this breakdown helped you understand the full picture behind these two exciting developing stories, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and share this video with a fellow United fan who needs to hear this news. This channel only continues to grow because of supporters exactly like you, and every single one of you watching is part of what makes Carrick United Analysis a trusted home for honest, reliable Manchester United coverage. Until the next video, stay excited, stay patient, and keep believing in this rebuild. Come on, United!